US versus China. Who will win the trade war? It's back. The world's two biggest economies are once again locked in a fight that could reshape everything, from what we buy, to where our jobs go, to how power works in the 21st century. In 2025, President Donald Trump launched a new wave of tariffs on Chinese goods, some as high as 145%. And China, it struck back, fast. Tariffs up to 125%, rare earth restrictions, and fresh investigations into US tech giants. This isn't just a trade war, it's a global standoff, with billions of dollars, entire industries, and geopolitical dominance on the line. And here's the twist. Trump is already signaling he's open to negotiation, but Beijing's not backing down either. So, who really has the upper hand? Is the US pressuring its way to victory? Or is China playing the long game? Let's break down the strategies, the stakes, and the silent players behind this economic war, and ask the question that matters most. The US versus China. Who will win the trade war? Segment 1. The spark of 2025. The trade war never really ended, it just went quiet. But in 2025, under his second term, Donald Trump brought it roaring back. With a stroke of the pen, he imposed tariffs of up to 145% on a wide range of Chinese goods, electronics, solar panels, steel, electric vehicles, even pharmaceuticals. The justification: national security, economic sabotage, and a campaign promised to punish China for cheating the American worker. China didn't blink. Within days, Beijing fired back, announcing tariffs as high as 125% on US goods, agriculture, energy, tech hardware. And in a move that rattled Silicon Valley, China began regulatory probes into US firms and hinted at restrictions on rare earth exports. The global message was clear. This isn't just tit for tat, it's systemic, strategic, and deeply personal. Segment 2. China's countermeasures. China isn't just retaliating, it's recalibrating. Tariffs were just the first move. Beijing slammed a 125% levy on US agricultural goods, soybeans, corn, beef, targeting American farmers in politically sensitive states. But the bigger threat? Regulatory warfare. China launched antitrust investigations into Google and Apple, citing national data security. It revived its unreliable entity list, blacklisting US defense-linked suppliers. And quietly, it began cutting off exports of rare earth elements, the metals essential for US weapons, EVs, and even smartphones. These are not random strikes. They're precise, tactical, calculated to pressure US allies and corporate lobbies back home. At the same time, China is boosting trade ties with Russia, ASEAN, the Middle East, and parts of Africa and Latin America. It's signing yuan-denominated deals and doubling down on Belt and Road 2.0. Beijing isn't just playing defense, it's building a parallel trade world, one where the US isn't the center of gravity. Segment 3, the US strategy. The US isn't just raising tariffs, it's redrawing the map. Under Trump's directive, the goal is clear: cut China out of America's supply chains. How? First, reshoring and friendshoring. Billions in subsidies are flowing into US chip fabs, steel plants, and pharmaceutical hubs. The CHIPS Act 2.0 incentivizes companies like Intel and TSMC to build on American soil. Second, trade rerouting. US firms are under pressure to shift manufacturing to India, Vietnam, Mexico, and even Malaysia, countries seen as more aligned and less risky than China. Third, tech decoupling. Through export controls and executive orders, Washington is limiting China's access to advanced AI chips, quantum computing tools, and aerospace components. But here's where it gets complicated. Even as Trump raises the pressure, he's also leaving the door open for negotiation. In recent press briefings, he's floated the idea of a fairer deal, signaling that tariffs could be adjusted if Beijing makes the right concessions. This isn't just economic warfare, it's economic brinkmanship, high-stakes poker with the global economy watching every move. Segment 4, the global ripple effect. This isn't just a fight between two giants, the shockwaves are hitting everyone. Southeast Asia is caught in the middle. Countries like Vietnam and Malaysia are seeing new investment from US firms fleeing China, but also facing tariff exposure if they're seen as indirect pipelines for Chinese goods. Europe is torn. It depends on China for trade, but relies on the US for security. Now it must choose, or try not to. Latin America and Africa are being courted by both sides. The US promises cleaner trade. China brings cash, infrastructure, and no lectures on politics. And then there's the corporate fallout. Apple faces delays. Tesla sees costs spike. US retailers brace for inflation, while Chinese exporters lose Western contracts. Supply chains unravel. Logistics costs rise. The price of a trade war isn't just paid in government budgets. It shows up in your grocery bill, your tech upgrades, your job security. This is a global conflict, playing out in cargo ports, data centers, and factory towns from Ohio to Shenzhen. Segment 5. Who holds the advantage? So, who's winning? In the short term, the US looks aggressive and in control. Tariffs hurt China's exports. Wall Street applauds tough on China rhetoric. And American manufacturing, at least symbolically, feels seen. But scratch beneath the surface, and it's messier. US consumers are paying more. Retailers are warning of price hikes. Exporters, especially in agriculture and energy, are losing access to Chinese markets. China? It's absorbing the hit. Some factories are bleeding, but Beijing's subsidies are deep. Its domestic market is growing, and its strategy is built on patience, not PR wins. It's not a knockout punch, it's a stamina match. But here's the twist. The real winners might be neither. India, Mexico, Vietnam. These are the nations quietly rising. They're getting the investment, the jobs, the attention. As the US and China go head to head, others are building up sideways, forming a new layer of economic power that's not locked into either superpower. So who holds the advantage? Right now, the answer might be not who you think. Segment 6. Tech, currency, and future front lines. Tariffs are the opening act. The real war, the one that decides who dominates the next century, is happening behind the scenes. Tech is the new territory. The US is racing to control AI chips, quantum computing, cyber defense, and next-gen energy systems. China is investing billions in semiconductors, EV batteries, 5G, and space infrastructure. It's no longer about who sells more shoes, it's about who controls the code. Then there's currency. China is aggressively pushing the digital yuan in trade deals across Asia and Africa, trying to chip away at the US dollar's dominance. It's not about replacing the dollar overnight, but building an alternative track. Meanwhile, the US is weaponizing the dollar through sanctions and access to the SWIFT system. But that power won't last forever if new systems emerge. And let's not forget Taiwan, home to the world's most advanced chip makers. Any disruption there could crash the entire global tech supply chain overnight. So yes, the trade war makes headlines, but the next decade's winners will be decided in labs, ledgers, and satellites. This is about more than tariffs. It's about who gets to write the future. Segment 7. Trade war, Cold War, or just the new normal? So, is this just a trade war, or are we looking at something much bigger? Because when you add up the tariffs, the tech bans, the currency shifts, the diplomatic blocks forming on both sides, this isn't just about economics anymore. It's starting to feel like a new Cold War. Only this time, fought with chips instead of tanks, and spreadsheets instead of missiles. And here's the truth no one likes to admit. No one truly wins a trade war. The US loses market access. China loses foreign capital. Global companies lose predictability. And everyday people? They just pay more. For food, for phones, for everything. But while the giants fight, a new layer of countries is quietly rising. India, Vietnam, Mexico, Brazil. They're not caught between powers. They're building leverage from both sides. So maybe the real question isn't who wins. It's who adapts fastest, who plays smarter, who builds the next system while the old one breaks. Because this isn't ending anytime soon. And for the rest of the world, the age of neutrality is over. But we do know that the trade war benefit Malaysia. How you might say. Watch this video and you will be surprised how Malaysia is turning into global chip manufacturing giant.